Hi everyone, welcome to the visual guide for Amdapor Keep Hard. This is one of 3 new instances made available by patch 2.5 Before the Fall Part 1. In this guide, we look at the rehash of one of our favorite instances. My name is Ms. Tech, and I'll be your dungeon guide. We begin in a familiar setting, but quickly veer off into a part of AK we haven't seen before. You'll come across stationary mobs blocking certain areas of the instance. These serve as gates to prevent the massive pulls of old. Each gate mob will repeatedly spawn a number of adds until it is destroyed. Once down, you can move on to the next section. It's also worth noting the large vines throughout the instance. These will slap down on anything in front of them, so be sure not to hang around these too long. The pulls in AK Hard have a bit more flexibility in regards to how fast your group wants to go. Just remember to only take on as much as you feel comfortable with. The first boss is Antchag. His little arena may remind you of an Antiboga in the original AK, but the mechanics are very different. The 4 statues around the room are vulnerable to any damage done by the boss, and players should be careful not to cause them too much inadvertent damage. Think of these as the pillars in Garuda hard mode. You'll use them to dodge abilities, and so you want them to be alive for as long as possible. Antchag has a number of AoE abilities, notably this circle on a random player and this large column attack that cannot be dodged, but can be steered away from the statues. Again, since both of these abilities have the potential to damage the statues, players should take care not to bait these AoEs on or near the statues. Periodically, Antchag will mark up a random player with this purple target. The cast is also a very obvious blue tether that will cause the player to take a buttload of damage while also receiving a debuff that makes them take even more damage. To avoid this, the player needs to line of sight behind one of the statues. The statue will of course take this damage instead and may even be destroyed. As the fight progresses, this cast gets longer and the statues can act as a bit of a softened rage timer for the fight. Once you run out of statues to hide behind, you may start losing people. However, the average group should have no problem killing the boss before this becomes a problem. In this section, the group will deal with more trash and more vines. Again, pull as much as you feel comfortable with. The next boss is the boogeyman. You may notice a grossly incandescent luminescence to the side, which will help you handle a very important mechanic. The orb will do no damage until it is pulled, and should be ignored until you need it. The boogeyman will cast a Smite of Gloom on random players, but this damage is easily healed through. Periodically, he will also cast Ripples of Gloom, which is a room-wide AoE. Eventually, he will cast Invisible and meld into the shadows, becoming invulnerable. He will continue his gloomy attacks in this form. The only way to bring him out of the shadows is to use the luminescence. Killing this orb will cause it to drop a puddle that applies irradiated to anyone standing in it. This buff has a duration of 6 seconds, and after that time, bright light will explode from the player, pulling the boogeyman back into the light. At this point, Boogeyman will begin to periodically cast a point-blank AoE that all melee should avoid, and a massive frontal cone that is incredibly difficult to dodge in this small area, unless you're pre-positioned nearby. These huge frontal cones seem to be the flavor of the month, so expect them, pre-position, and dodge. Getting hit by this cone will confuse you, causing you to attack your own party members. An important thing to note is that this attack is a gaze attack, meaning that you can turn your character away to dodge the effect completely. The cultists dead on the floor will revive throughout the fight, so tanks be ready to grab these. One of these adds will also begin to cast Internal Combustion. Kill this one first before it destroys the raid. Boogeyman will eventually cast Doppelganger, replicating himself. 2 boogeymen means 2 times the annoying abilities and damage to deal with. While it is possible to pull both out of the shadows, I would recommend dealing with one at a time. The damage caused by a boogeyman in the shadows is substantially easier to handle than having to dodge 2 sets of massive annoying abilities. Trust me. That said, it's also easier to focus down any stray adds first before grabbing the light buff and pulling out a boogeyman. Destroy him, then kill another orb to pull out the second one. Once both boogeymen are down, you can collect your loot. In this section, we face our somewhat disappointing rehash of Demon Wall. Upon interacting with the spell orb, you have about 3 minutes to destroy all waves of adds before the Demon Wall comes and stomps your face in. If you don't meet the time limit, the Demon Walls begin to chain cast Crash Down, a massive AoE blast that will kill you pretty soon. We begin with a few slime adds. Next, 2 imps and a lady followed by 2 more demons. Another giant demon with a few more slime adds. Finally, our favorite, bees. Once all waves are down, you can proceed to the final boss, Ferdiad, This boss has an AoE blast that is easy to shield and heal through. Periodically, he will spawn a slime ad that will hold a player in place while he begins to cast a massive AoE cone on them. The group should switch to this ad and destroy it so that the affected player can move out of the AoE in time. These swords will also spawn disco lights that must be dodged. The patterns can get pretty complicated as the fight progresses, so stay on your toes. You'll also notice these twirling axes that you'll need to avoid. Hockey Manor Deja Vu. The main ability to watch out for is this right here. Ferdiad will spawn ads that are tethered to him while casting a point-blank AoE that gradually increases in size. To stop the growth of this inevitable death circle, all players must switch to and destroy the ads. As soon as the last ad is killed, the AoE circle will stop growing. Ensuring that you kill the ads before the circle gets too big to dodge is key to avoiding damage. The mechanics will repeat here until the boss is down. Remember to kill the slimes, dodge AoEs, and switch to ads as soon as they come up to stop his growing AoE. And don't forget to free any trapped players. And there you have it. Amdapor Keep Hard. If you have any questions or comments, please let me know. Up next, we look at Wanderer's Palace Hard. As always, thanks for watching. Till next time.